And then the last one on this is the secretary on the Hill yesterday managed to get the Israelis in particular upset about him when he described what he called the poof moment when things went, for lack of a better word, to hell. Given the fact that you guys have been clear for some time now, for at least 2 weeks now, that both sides have taken negative steps, one, would it have been perhaps more appropriate for the secretary not to use his poof moment comment, or if it was appropriate, do you think that that he put it in the context of the timeline at the wrong place?
Well, I spoke with the secretary about this this morning, and he was frankly surprised by the coverage of his comments because he doesn't believe, as you noted, and has said repeatedly, that one side deserves blame over another because they've both taken unhelpful steps. That's something you've heard him say frequently. And at no point, including yesterday, has he intended to engage in a blame game. The truth is, even yesterday, if you look at the full context of his comments, he went out of his way to credit Prime Minister Netanyahu for making tough choices. And you'll remember, as you also noted, that he began his comments by very matter-of-factly referring to the unhelpful and provocative steps the Palestinians took by going on television and, of course, announcing their intention to join UN treaties. So what he followed yesterday, or what he did yesterday, was simply restate the chronology of events of last week that took place, which ended, of course, with the step by the Palestinians to announce plans to join international conventions. So that was the intention of his comments, and he certainly stands by them, and was surprised that there was a view that he was one-sided.
Well, he was surprised by the fact that people took him at his word, because that's what he said. If we look at the chronology, going back this week, and I don't want to belabor this, but on Saturday was when the prisoners were supposed to be released. They weren't. Saturday, Sunday, after they weren't released, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, nothing really major happened. The Palestinians didn't take any action. On Tuesday, the new Hilo announcement, settlement or construction announcement was made. That is when the secretary said the poof moment was. It wasn't until the next day, Wednesday, when we were in Brussels, that President Abbas came out and said that he was going to sign onto these UN conventions. And it wasn't until the next day after that, Thursday, that Justice Minister Livni came out and said that the prisoner release was now officially canceled. So, in retrospect, wouldn't it have been more accurate, given the fact that you blame both sides, for the secretary to have identified the poof moment not as the housing announcement, but rather either the Palestinian announcement or Justice Minister Livni's announcement that the prisoner release had been canceled entirely?
Well, I would caution you against overemphasizing the meaning of poof, which we've now talked about a lot here. But his view is that there were unhelpful steps by both sides. That's what he was conveying yesterday. Again, as we look forward to the coming days, it's clearly counterproductive when either side takes steps that aren't conducive to an environment moving forward. So we're not going to spend our time recounting every single step as it relates to the events of last week. We're going to see if there's the will and the desire to move things forward.
Right, but that's what he did yesterday. In recounting the chronology, he did exactly what you say you don't want to do.
No,
and because he used the poof comment where he did, some in Israel, many, if not all in Israel, took that to be an indication that you regard them as more to blame than the other side. You're saying that that's wrong. So if it's correct, you're saying that is wrong. He wasn't meaning to single out Israel for more blame than anyone else.
I would point you to his own comments he's made many times over the past week about the unhelpful steps by both sides.
And you say that he doesn't want to get into the blame game, but is he in fact? Aren't you in fact blaming both sides? Isn't that the blame game?
Well, often the blame game means blaming one side over the other, and that's what I'm using it as a reference to.
Okay.